All right, welcome back here to CT Sports Now, Advantage Sportsnet and CW20. Sean, Naugatuck and Newtown. Well, first let's talk Newtown. The Nighthawks getting a home game in Class Double L.
What about them?
What do you think?
Well, they're playing the three-time defending champs. A jilted one at that, a pretty upset one. You know, like I just said.
Well, they only have themselves to blame.
They do. However, their offense has not been great this year. I think they've had some time to work it out, and it really hasn't really clicked. And we saw it against a New Canaan team that really kind of took it to them. So now they go in to face Newtown, which, as you said off camera a little while ago, they didn't really put Massac away. And they beat the heck out of Bunnell, but they took their time needing to beat Massac last week. It was only 21-14. So that's another team that we're kind of really interested in seeing. I mean, Newtown's been pretty much not challenged all year, except when they played Brookfield and then Massac. I mean, Massac's their rival, so you kind of understand that a little bit. But there, some signs there. Listen, Newtown's been so many years. They've gotten to this point, and they get a home game, and then they got kind of run off their own field.
And we said it last segment with Greenwich. I don't think Newtown has seen anything like they're going to see with Darien coming.
No, and it's not necessarily their fault. They did join the SEC, the ECC, SEC scheduling thing. They played Cheshire, which wasn't great this year. They played NFA, which also wasn't great this year. So you give them a little bit of credit for going and getting those games and playing them. I don't think this is the strongest out of the four straight. I don't think this is the top one that we've seen from Darien in a few years, and they've had their work cut out for them as well. So I could see this game being pretty close, to be honest with you. I mean, if Newtown can run the ball, that's a tough defense, though, and that's kind of the big equalizer.
I don't think it's going to be a close game. Let's move on, because you're not as big on Naugatuck as I've been. I think I like this Naugatuck team. I think the defense, with the exception of that Seymour team and that Ansonia game, that defense played well all season long. I think the Naugatuck game coming up here could be a good game.
Against who are they playing?
Is it Middletown?
Middletown. Possibly. I think if they take to the air, I think they can do some things. And
it's Platt. I'm sorry.
They're playing Platt. Okay. I think if they take to the air, regardless, I think if they take the air, I think they're going to be in better shape than they are trying to run the ball. I don't think they quite have the horses to run the ball. Ansonia was really tough up front and didn't allow them to establish any kind of run game. And it was only when Naugatuck started throwing the ball, as you see here with Jay Mezzo, he's a young quarterback, but he actually made some things happen there in the second half and got him going. Now, that said, they did play NVL is not the greatest league in the world, and they really did a number on most of the teams there. But then when they played Seymour, one of the top teams in the league, and then they played Ansonia, one of the top teams in the league, it didn't go so great. They almost lost to Seymour, and then they almost lost, and they did lose to Ansonia. And granted, they were competitive in both games, but the defense that was so vaunted only allowed 45 points going into the Ansonia game, gave up 34 to Ansonia. So you got to be a little bit worrisome. Is Naugatuck, were they worthy? A lot of people are saying they're not worthy of that.
I'm picking them over Platt.
All right. Let's move
Fair
on
enough.
quickly. I wish we had more time. Class M and Class S. In Class M, give me a game that people really should keep an eye on that will be ultra competitive in Class M, and the same for Class S.
I think that Berlin-Brookfield game.
The Berlin-Brookfield game is really good. I mean, I think Berlin just has too many weapons. But Brookfield, listen, his coach Angarano, he announces his retirement on Thanksgiving Eve. That's got to be an emotional factor there. He's got two backs in Connor McVeigh and Henderson. But
that 1-2 punch, right?
That 1-2 punch for them, and they can play defense. They know how to play defense. They did a number on Newtown. So that'll be interesting. I do like all the weapons here of this Berlin team. Now they got beat up a bit by a double L school in New Britain, but when they get going, Halkias, Herbiak and St. Pierre and Dunn, a quarterback, they just have way too many weapons, I think. But it still should be a pretty good interesting game. I think St. Joe's going to win that whole thing, though. That'll be great. In Class S, well, Ansonia, Bloomfield are going to meet in the semis, most likely. So we're going to be looking at somebody like, Cromwell, Portland, one of the Pequot teams, Cromwell, Portland, or HK. Yep. Or even who was the other? Stafford, Summers, Eastwood. That'd be an interesting final.
All right, Sean. Boy, I wish we had more time.
Yeah.
We gotta run. Have a great Tuesday in the playoffs. We'll be right back here on CT Sports Now.